My name is Doug Mitchell, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I knew what rock bottom looked like. Turns out I was wrong. Rock bottom has a basement, and that basement has a sub-basement. And somewhere down there in the depths is where I found myself on a Tuesday morning, watching my wife film herself for social media while I took out the trash. "Hold on, Doug," Lara called from the front porch, her phone already positioned at the perfect angle. "Just stay right there for a second." I should have known something was up. Lara never acknowledged my existence during her morning routine, let alone asked me to stick around for it. But there I was, garbage bags in each hand, looking like exactly what I was, a 39-year-old contractor whose best days were behind him, standing in yesterday's work clothes because today's were still dirty. "Perfect," she said, hitting record. "So this is going to sound harsh, but hear me out. Sometimes dating down builds character, like really down." I froze. The garbage bag suddenly felt heavier. "See that guy behind me? That's my husband, Doug. Sweet guy, don't get me wrong, but let's be real. He's what we call a placeholder. You know what I mean? The guy you settle for while you figure out what you actually want." My hands started shaking. Not from anger yet, just from the sheer disbelief that this was happening. That my wife of 7 years was using me as a prop in whatever twisted content she was creating. I mean, look at him. Really look. When I was 25, I thought this was good enough. Now I'm 36 and I'm like, "Girl, what were you thinking?" She laughed, actually laughed, like this was the funniest thing in the world. Anyway, the point is, sometimes you need to experience mediocrity to appreciate excellence. Doug here has taught me so much about what I don't want in a partner. So thanks, honey. She blew me a kiss and stopped recording. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, watching her review the footage, watching her smile at her own cleverness. Then I did the only thing that made sense. I walked to my truck, threw the garbage bags in the back, and drove away. Not forever, just to Walt's place, where I could sit in his kitchen and try to process what had just happened, while his pit bull mix buster licked my face and reminded me that somewhere in this world, loyalty still existed. She said, "What now?" Walt asked, pouring me coffee that could strip paint. Called me a placeholder, on camera, for the internet. Walt whistled low. "That's cold, even for Lara." The worst part? She's not wrong. I have been a placeholder, for her, for everyone. Just taking up space while better people figure out their lives. "Bull," Walt said. "You built half this town with your own hands. You think that's nothing?" I wanted to agree with him, but the truth was sitting heavy in my chest. Lara was right about one thing. I had gotten comfortable being mediocre, comfortable being the guy who fixed other people's problems while his own life fell apart around him. My phone buzzed, a text from Lara. "Where did you go? We need milk." Not "Are you okay?" or "I'm sorry," or even "We need to talk." Just a grocery list item, like nothing had happened. That's when I made my first real decision in years. I opened TikTok, found her video, which already had 57 likes and 12 comments, all of them roasting me in creative ways, and forwarded it to every contact in both our phones. Her mom, my mom, her boss at the fitness center, the ladies from her book club, everyone from our wedding, the mailman, our accountant, her personal trainer, my foreman, the guy who fixed our dishwasher last month. All of them got to see Lara's little performance, along with a simple message. Thought you'd want to see what Lara really thinks of the people in her life. 9, namomi phone, and waited. Walt was grinning. Now that's more like it. What's next? Next, I figure out just how deep this goes. Because something tells me this TikTok thing is just the tip of the iceberg. I was right about that. But I had no idea how right. Ndaventermore Nove. By Thursday, the entire town knew about Lara's video. Not because of my little forwarding spree, though that had started the ball rolling. No. It spread because Lara had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated how much people actually liked me. I found this out at Murphy's Bar, where I'd gone to grab a burger and hide from the world. Tyler, the bartender, slid me a beer before I even asked. "On the house," he said. "Heard you've been having a rough week." You could say that. For what it's worth, most folks think Lara showed her true colors. About time, too. Always thought she was too good for her own good, if you know what I mean. I didn't, but Tyler kept talking. Like that time she came in here with her friends, complaining about how boring her life was, how she deserved better than some contractor who smelled like sawdust. This was maybe 6 months ago. We all heard it. She said that? Oh, that was nothing. You want to know what really got people talking? Ask Marissa. Marissa, Laura's best friend since college, the nurse who always seemed uncomfortable whenever I was around. I'd always figured she just didn't like me much. Marissa was here every Tuesday for the past month. Girls' night out, she calls it. Except Laura never shows up. It's just Marissa, drinking wine and looking miserable. Before I could ask more questions, the door opened and Marissa herself walked in. She saw me, hesitated for just a second, then came over. Doug, I was hoping I'd run into you. Really? She sat down next to me, ordered a glass of wine, and waited until Tyler moved away before speaking. I need to tell you something. About Laura. About what's really been going on. My stomach dropped. How bad is it? Bad. But not in the way you think. She's been cheating, yes, with Cody Brandt from the car dealership. But that's not the worst part. Cody Brandt, flashy guy, always wore suits that cost more than I made in a month, married to a woman named Janine, who worked at the bank. I'd done some work on his house last year, back when I thought we were friendly. What's the worst part? Marissa pulled out her phone, scrolled through some screenshots. They've been planning this. The humiliation, I mean. Lara's been documenting everything, building a case that you're unstable, emotionally abusive. The plan was to get you to react badly to the TikTok thing, then use that reaction to get a restraining order. A restraining order? For what? So she could keep the house. And so Cody could leave his wife without looking like the bad guy. See? If you're the crazy ex-husband who couldn't handle rejection, then Laura's the victim who needs protecting. And Cody's the hero who swoops in to save her. Miri. I stared at the screenshots. Text messages between Laura and Cody, planning out my destruction like it was a business proposal. Clinical, efficient, cruel. Why are you showing me this? Marissa's laugh was bitter. Because I'm tired of being her audience. Do you know what it's like, being friends with someone who thinks everyone else exists just to make her feel better about herself? She's been using me as her personal therapist for years, and I finally realized she doesn't actually care about my problems. She just likes having someone around who makes her feel superior. So what do? Doug, I can't be part of whatever you're planning. I've got a career to think about, and I'm not planning anything violent, if that's what you're worried about. But I'm not going to just roll over and let them destroy me either. Marissa studied my face for a long moment. What did you have in mind? Simple. They want to play games with the truth? Let's see how they handle the real truth. That night, I sat in Walt's spare room with Buster at my feet and made a list. Not a hit list or anything dramatic like that. Just a simple accounting of facts. Fact 1. Lara had been cheating with Cody for at least 3 months. Fact 2. They'd been planning to frame me as unstable. Fact 3. Lara's entire social media presence was built on lies. Fact 4. Small towns run on gossip, and I knew everyone in this town. Fact 5. The truth, presented properly, could be more devastating than any lie. I started with her fitness clients. Lara taught yoga and Pilates to about 30 women, most of whom paid her in cash and trusted her with their personal struggles. What they didn't know was that Lara had been mocking them behind their backs for years, sharing their secrets with anyone who'd listen. I didn't have to make anything up. I just had to remind the right people of conversations they'd already heard. Mrs. Henderson, who'd confided in Lara about her marriage problems, probably didn't know that Lara had been telling everyone at the grocery store about Henderson's husband's drinking problem. Janet Morrison, who'd hired Lara for private sessions after her divorce, might be interested to know that Lara had been calling her desperate and pathetic to anyone who'd listen. I didn't spread these stories myself. I just asked the right questions to the right people. Hey, did you know that Janet Morrison is taking private yoga lessons? Yeah, Lara mentioned she's been struggling since the divorce. Sad situation. Let people draw their own conclusions. Let them remember what else Lara had said about Janet and about them. By Friday, 3 of Lara's clients had canceled their sessions. By Saturday, it was 7. But I was just getting started. Sunday morning, I got a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at Murphy's at 2. I showed it to Walt, who was fixing breakfast for both of us, and Buster. Could be a trap, he said. Could be. But I'm curious. Want backup? Nah, but keep your phone on. Murphy's was nearly empty when I arrived. Just Tyler behind the bar, reading a newspaper, and a woman I recognized but couldn't place sitting in the corner booth. She waved me over. Janine Brandt, she said when I sat down. Cody's wife. Oh, hi. She was prettier than I remembered, but there was something sharp in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Something angry. "I know about the affair," she said without preamble. "Have for weeks. What I didn't know was the rest of it. The plan to destroy you. How did you—" "Marissa called me yesterday. Showed me the screenshots. Apparently she's been feeling guilty about staying silent. I ordered a beer, trying to process this. What do you want from me?" "I want to help you destroy them, both of them." "Why?" Janine's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "Because Cody thinks I'm stupid. He thinks I don't know about the gambling debts, or the money he's been skimming from the dealership to pay them off. He thinks I don't know about the other women. Yes, plural. Laura's not his first affair, just his most recent. Jesus. So here's what I'm thinking. You want to hurt Laura? I want to hurt Cody. We help each other. What did you have in mind?" Janine pulled out her own phone, showed me some photos, bank statements, credit card bills, screenshots of betting apps. "Cody's been stealing from his boss for 6 months. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger an audit, but it adds up. He's also been using the dealership's credit to place bets online. If the right person were to tip off Mr. Feldman, that would get him terminated, at minimum. Maybe arrested, depending on how much Feldman wants to make an example." I thought about this. Cody losing his job would definitely hurt him, but it would also hurt Laura's plans. Hard to play the rescuing hero when you're unemployed and facing embezzlement charges. "What do you need from me?" "Access to his car, the Mustang he's so proud of. He keeps records of everything in the glove compartment, including stuff he doesn't want at home, where I might find it. And you want me to— I want you to help me get those records, and maybe send a message while we're at it." That night, Walt and I drove to the dealership. It wasn't breaking and entering, technically. The lot was open to the public, and we weren't going inside any buildings. We were just visiting the cars. Cody's Mustang was parked in the back row, gleaming under the security lights. The man loved that car more than he loved his wife, which was saying something. "You sure about this?" Walt asked, pulling his tow truck into position. "Nope, but I'm doing it anyway." The plan was simple. Walt would hook up the Mustang and tow it to the public dock, where the fishermen dumped their bait scraps and old tackle. I'd retrieve whatever paperwork Janine needed, and then we'd leave Cody a little surprise. The glove compartment was a goldmine. Betting slips, bank statements, even a notebook where he'd been tracking his thefts. Janine was right. This was enough to destroy him. But I wasn't feeling satisfied yet. The paperwork would hurt him professionally, but I wanted something more personal. Something that would hurt his pride the way Laura's TikTok had hurt mine. That's when I remembered the fish scraps. 20 minutes later, Cody's pristine Mustang was full of rotting fish guts, seaweed, and crab shells. The smell was indescribable. Walt had also helped me spray paint "Cheater" on the windshield. Though we'd used washable paint, I wasn't trying to commit actual vandalism. "Think he'll get the message?" Walt asked as we drove away. "Oh, he'll get it. Question is, what's he going to do about it?" I found out Monday morning. My phone rang at 6 a.m., Cody's name on the screen. "You piece of trash," he said without preamble. "You think this is funny? I think it's appropriate. How's the smell? You're going to pay for this. I'm calling the police. You're going to do exactly nothing," I said. "Because if you make this official, I'll make sure Mr. Feldman sees those betting slips you keep in your glove compartment. The ones that show you've been using dealership funds for your little gambling problem." Silence. And that's what I thought. "Oh, and Cody? Stay away from my wife. You two want to be together? Fine. But you're going to do it honestly, without trying to destroy me first." I hung up and turned off the phone. Let him stew on that for a while. But I should have known it wouldn't be that simple. Tuesday afternoon, I was at the hardware store picking up supplies for a small job when my phone started buzzing with notifications, text messages, missed calls, Facebook alerts. Something was happening. The first text was from Marissa. "Doug, you need to see this. Laura's fighting back." I opened Facebook and found Laura's latest post, a long, emotional essay about surviving an abusive marriage. According to her version of events, I was a controlling, manipulative husband who'd been psychologically tormenting her for years. The TikTok video? Just her way of finally finding the courage to speak her truth. The fish in the car incident had become a terrifying act of stalking and vandalism. She'd even posted photos of Cody's Mustang, along with tearful selfies and pleas for support from the community. "I'm scared," the post concluded. "Doug has been escalating his behavior since I asked for space. I don't know what he might do next. If you see him, please don't tell him where I am." I just want to feel safe. The comments were brutal. People I'd known for years calling me a monster. Neighbors I'd helped with home repairs, saying they'd always suspected I had a violent streak. Former clients claiming they'd never felt comfortable around me. My first instinct was to respond, to defend myself, to point out the obvious lies. But then I remembered something my dad used to say. When you're in a hole, stop digging. Instead, I called Marissa. It's bad, she said before I could speak. But it's not as bad as it looks. Most of the comments are from people who don't actually know you. Your real friends aren't buying it. What real friends? Did you see what Tom Peterson wrote? I remodeled his entire kitchen last year. Tom Peterson's been divorced 3 times and thinks every marriage is a war zone. Don't take it personally. How can I not take it personally? She's destroying my reputation. Doug, listen to me. Laura's made a mistake. She's overplaying her hand. People who know you, really know you, can see through this. And people who don't know you, well, their opinions don't matter anyway. Easy for you to say. You're not the one being called an abuser. No, but I am the one with video evidence that proves she's lying. That got my attention. What video evidence? Remember last month when you and Lara had that fight about money? The one where she threw a plate at your head and you just walked away? I remembered. Lara had been angry about a late credit card payment, even though the payment was late because she'd spent the money on a weekend spa trip without telling me. She'd screamed, thrown dishes, accused me of sabotaging her happiness. I'd cleaned up the broken plate and slept on the couch. You filmed that. I was there, remember? Girls' night. I was recording Lara's new workout routine when the fight started. I kept recording because I was already starting to see who she really was, and I wanted evidence. And you still have it? I have it. And Doug, in that video, you're the calmest person in the room. Even when she's screaming and throwing things, you never raise your voice. You never even look angry, just tired. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Because I was still trying to be her friend. But after this latest stunt, I'm done. She wants to lie about who you are? Fine. Let's show everyone who she really is. That evening, Marissa posted her own Facebook video. Not the footage of our fight. She was saving that. But a simple, direct statement. I've been friends with Lara Mitchell for 15 years, she said, looking straight into the camera. I've also known her husband Doug for 7 years. I've seen them together in good times and bad times. And I need to tell you something. Doug Mitchell is not an abuser. He's not violent. He's not controlling. He's actually one of the most patient, gentle men I've ever met. She went on to describe specific incidents she'd witnessed. Times when Lara had berated me in public, and I'd simply taken it. Times when she'd embarrassed me in front of friends, and I'd made excuses for her behavior. Times when she'd spent money we didn't have, and I'd worked extra jobs to cover the bills. The Doug Mitchell I know, Marissa concluded, has spent 7 years being emotionally abused by his wife. And now that he's finally standing up for himself, she's trying to paint him as the villain. Don't let her get away with it. The response was immediate. Comments started pouring in from people who'd witnessed Lara's behavior over the years. Stories I'd never heard. Observations I'd never realized people were making. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who'd noticed Lara's cruelty. I was just the only one who'd been living with it. By Wednesday morning, the narrative had shifted. Lara's post was still up, but the comments had turned skeptical. People were asking questions, demanding evidence, sharing their own stories about her treatment of service workers, friends, family members. The tide was turning. But I knew Lara wouldn't give up easily. I was right. Thursday afternoon, she escalated. Doug Mitchell. I looked up from the fence I was repairing to see a sheriff's deputy walking toward me, papers in his hand. That's me. I need to serve you with a temporary restraining order. You're required to stay at least 500 feet away from Lara Mitchell, her place of employment, and her residence. I read through the paperwork, my hands surprisingly steady. According to the filing, I had threatened Lara's life, destroyed her property, and engaged in a pattern of stalking and harassment. The fish in the car incident was described as an escalating act of violence clearly intended to terrorize the victim. When's the hearing? I asked. Next Tuesday. You'll want to get a lawyer. That evening, I met with Samira Patel, the best divorce attorney in town. She was expensive, but Walt had offered to loan me the money, and I figured this was worth going into debt over. It's a weak case, Samira said after reviewing the paperwork. But restraining orders have a low burden of proof. The judge will err on the side of caution. So I'm screwed? Not necessarily. Your wife made several mistakes. First, She waited too long to file. If you were really terrorizing her, why didn't she seek protection immediately after the TikTok incident? Second, her evidence is all circumstantial. She has no witnesses to any actual threats or violence. What about the car thing? Vandalism, maybe. Harassment, possibly. But terrorism? That's a stretch, especially since you used washable paint and didn't cause any permanent damage. So what's our strategy? Samira smiled. We tell the truth, and we let your wife hang herself with her own lies. Ni farmi everything naman, he'd premised him Farid. I was at Murphy's, having a quiet dinner and trying not to think about the next day, when Tyler approached my table. Doug, you might want to see this. He handed me his phone. On the screen was a Facebook Live video, posted about an hour earlier. Lara and Cody, sitting in what looked like Cody's car, talking directly to the camera. We wanted to address the rumors and lies that have been spreading about us, Lara was saying. Yes, Cody and I are together. Yes, we fell in love while I was still married, but we didn't plan it, and we certainly didn't conspire against Doug. The truth is, Cody added, Doug has been unstable for months. Lara was trying to protect him, trying to keep his problems private, but he's made that impossible. They went on to describe a version of events where I was the villain, they were the victims, and their love was the only pure thing in an ugly situation. It was a masterful performance, full of tears and righteous indignation. It was also a huge mistake. Tyler, I said, handing back his phone. Do you still have that security camera footage from last month? The night Lara was here talking about how boring her life was? Sure do. Why? Because I think it's time people saw the real Lara Mitchell. Tuesday morning, I walked into the courthouse with Samira, Marissa, and a folder full of evidence that would have made a prosecutor weep with joy. Text messages, video footage, witness statements, and financial records that painted a very different picture than the one Lara had been selling. The hearing lasted 3 hours. Lara took the stand first, tearfully recounting months of alleged abuse and intimidation. She was convincing, I'll give her that. If I hadn't been living through the real version of events, I might have believed her myself. Then Samira started her cross-examination. Mrs. Mitchell, you claim your husband threatened your life. Do you have any recordings of these threats? No, but any witnesses? He was careful to any text messages, emails, or other written evidence. He's not stupid enough to... So your testimony is based entirely on conversations that no one else heard and no one else can verify. That's how abuse works, Lara snapped. Abusers don't perform for an audience. Interesting. So you'd agree that abusers typically try to hide their behavior from others? Of course. Then can you explain this? Samira played Tyler's security footage on a laptop. There was Lara, 6 weeks earlier, telling a table full of women that her husband was pathetic, that she deserved better, and that she was working on an exit strategy. That's not what it sounds like, Lara said, but her voice had lost its confident edge. Really? Because it sounds like you were planning to leave your husband long before any of the alleged abuse took place. In fact, it sounds like you were planning to humiliate him publicly. Samira played the TikTok video next. Then Marissa's recording of Lara throwing the plate. Then screenshots of the text messages between Lara and Cody. By the time she was finished, Lara looked like a deer caught in headlights. The judge looked skeptical. Even Lara's lawyer looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Your Honor, Samira concluded, this restraining order is nothing more than a tactical move in what promises to be a contentious divorce. Mrs. Mitchell is not afraid of my client. She's angry at him for refusing to be quietly discarded. The judge denied the restraining order. More than that, he issued a warning to Lara about filing frivolous claims and wasting the court's time. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: victory. But Lara wasn't done yet. The annual Harvest Festival was supposed to be a celebration. 3 days of food trucks, craft booths, and live music in the town square. I'd been looking forward to it. My first public appearance since the restraining order hearing, a chance to show everyone that I was still standing. What I didn't expect was for Lara and Cody to show up. I was working the dunking booth, a volunteer gig I'd signed up for months earlier, when I spotted them near the bandstand. Lara was dressed like she was attending a movie premiere, all flowing fabric and perfect makeup. Cody was in his usual expensive suit, looking uncomfortable in the afternoon heat. They were putting on a show, holding hands and gazing into each other's eyes like teenagers. Every few minutes, Lara would laugh too loudly at something Cody said, making sure everyone could see how happy she was. Ignore them, Marissa said, appearing at my elbow with 2 cups of lemonade. They're just trying to get a reaction. I know, but it's working. Doug, you won. The restraining order was denied. Half the town knows she's been lying, and Cody's about to lose his job. Why give them the satisfaction of seeing you upset? She was right, of course. But there's something about seeing your cheating wife parade her boyfriend around in public that gets under your skin, regardless of logic. That's when I noticed they were moving closer to the dunking booth. Not directly toward it, but in a slow spiral, like sharks circling prey. They're up to something, I told Marissa. Like what? I don't know, but Doug Mitchell. Laura's voice carried across the crowd, bright and artificial. She was walking toward me now, Cody trailing behind her like a reluctant bodyguard. Hi there. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank me for what? For finally showing everyone who you really are. The restraining order hearing was so enlightening. I mean, I always knew you were manipulative, but watching you lie to a judge, that was impressive. And people were starting to stare. This was exactly what she wanted, a public confrontation where she could play the victim again. Laura, I'm not doing this here. Doing what? I'm just trying to have a conversation with my husband. We're still married, after all, for now. Cody stepped forward, puffing up his chest like he was ready to defend her honor. Maybe you should listen to the lady, Doug. Maybe you should mind your own business, Cody. Oh wait, I forgot. Destroying other people's marriages is your business now. Hey now, Cody said, pointing a finger at me. You don't get to talk to me like that, not after what you did to my car. What I did to your car? You mean the fish? That was just returning some property you left behind. I reached into my pocket and pulled out one of Cody's betting slips, one I'd kept as insurance. You dropped this. Cody's face went white. Where did you get that? Same place I got the others. You really should be more careful with your paperwork, especially when it shows you've been stealing from your boss. I haven't stolen anything. Really? Because Mr. Feldman seemed very interested when I showed him your little notebook. You know, the one where you tracked every transaction? Very thorough record keeping for someone who claims he's innocent. That was a bluff. I hadn't actually talked to Feldman yet, but Cody didn't know that. He lunged at me, grabbing for the betting slip. I stepped aside and he stumbled, catching himself on the edge of the dunking booth. The crowd that had gathered to watch our argument burst into laughter. And careful there, Cody, I said. Wouldn't want you to fall in. You think this is funny? Laura snapped. You think ruining people's lives is some kind of game? I think people ruin their own lives. I just document the process. Yeah, that's when she made her mistake. Instead of walking away, instead of taking the high road, Laura decided to escalate. You want to know the truth? She said, raising her voice so everyone could hear. The truth is, Doug Mitchell is a sad, pathetic man who can't handle the fact that his wife outgrew him. He's been stalking me, harassing my friends, and trying to destroy my relationship because he can't accept that I don't love him anymore. The crowd was silent now, waiting to see how I'd respond. This was my moment. I could either let her words stand, or I could finally tell my side of the story. I chose option 3. You're right, I said. I am sad and pathetic. I'm the guy who worked 60-hour weeks so you could take yoga teacher training. I'm the guy who ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch so you could get your hair done twice a week. I'm the guy who never complained when you spent our vacation money on clothes, or when you invited your friends over without asking, or when you made fun of me in front of those friends. My voice was getting louder, but I didn't care. I'm the guy who believed you when you said you loved me, even when you stopped acting like it. I'm the guy who thought marriage meant we were on the same team, even when you were playing for the other side. So yeah, I'm pathetic. But you know what I'm not? I pulled out my phone and opened the video Marissa had sent me that morning. Security footage from the car dealership showing Cody loading boxes into his trunk at midnight. I'm not a thief, unlike your boyfriend here, who's been embezzling from his employer for 6 months. I'm not a liar, unlike you, with your fake abuse claims and your victim act. And I'm not a coward, unlike both of you, sneaking around behind people's backs instead of having the guts to end your marriages honestly. I held up the phone so everyone could see the video. This was taken last night. Cody cleaning out his office after hours, probably trying to destroy evidence before the audit starts Monday morning. But don't worry, Cody. I'm sure they'll let you keep some of your stuff when they arrest you. Cody made another grab for my phone, but this time I was ready. I tossed it to Walt, who was standing in the crowd, grinning like this was the best entertainment he'd seen all year. Give me that phone, Cody shouted. Come and get it, Walt said. Cody charged toward Walt, but he'd forgotten about the dunking booth. His foot caught on the platform, and he went down hard, landing face first in the shallow kiddie pool we'd set up for the smaller children. The crowd erupted. People were laughing, cheering, taking pictures. Cody came up sputtering, his expensive suit dripping with chlorinated water and his hair plastered to his skull. "This isn't over," Lara screamed. But nobody was listening to her anymore. The show was over, and she'd lost the audience. As they retreated toward the parking lot, Cody limping and Lara trailing behind him, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. I felt like myself again. Marissa appeared beside me, shaking her head in amazement. "Well, that was something. Think it worked?" "Doug, half the town just watched your cheating wife's boyfriend fall into a kiddie pool while trying to steal your phone." "Yeah, I think it worked." That night, as the festival wound down and the last of the food trucks packed up, I sat on a bench in the town square with Buster at my feet and Marissa beside me. My phone had been buzzing all evening with messages of support, job offers, and invitations to dinner from people I hadn't heard from in months. "So, what happens now?" Marissa asked. "Now I stop being a placeholder," I said. "I file for divorce, I rebuild my business, and I figure out what comes next. Any ideas?" I looked around at the town I'd helped build, at the people who'd finally seen the real me, at the woman beside me who'd risked her own reputation to help me find my voice. "Yeah," I said. "I think I do." Nah. The placeholder's last stand was over. But Doug Mitchell's first act? That was just beginning. Nada. October 28th, 2025. 14 hours, 39 minutes, and 25 seconds.